What's good, Yon Dons? Welcome to episode 13 of the YON Show. Listen, we're gonna go back into the segment, the love doctrine. What I wanted to talk about today is how to build a relationship. So I feel like most people will know how to start something, but never know how to continue it, never know how to keep it consistent, or never know how to build on that. So, like somebody always told me, even in the weightlifting world or bodybuilding world, they say that it's easy to get it, it's harder to maintain it. And so when it comes to relationships, I feel like that's a pretty similar statement. So what I want to talk about is how to build something, right? First thing that I personally would say you have to do is understand that the relationship is a reflection of your love and self-worth towards yourself. And so when it comes to loving somebody else, you can only love them as much as you love yourself. Whenever you go out your way to do something for somebody, you can only do but so much until you start realizing that you don't do enough for yourself. And so the way that you can kind of analogize it is, I think that's a word, analogize it is, is basically picture it as you have a cup of water, right? And somebody else next to you has another cup and it's empty. And there's a waterfall that's right next to you. The only thing that you can do in order to give them water is to pour out your cup and give to them, right? And so the more you pour out onto others, the less that you have for yourself. And so the only thing that you kind of need to do is focus on how do I keep my cup full and still give to others. Well, there's a waterfall that is endless. There is a waterfall that is right next door to you. If only you went there, and you'd be able to, what we like to do is take, fill it, and dump it out to others. Take, fill it, and dump it out to others, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. But there's always those moments where we're empty when everybody else is full. But if we were to take our aspect of it, or take our perspective on it, instead of always dumping out into others, why don't we fill our cup and let it overflow? And that overflow will run onto other people's lives. And so that's kind of how you want to go about it, is don't let your cup run dry, let your cup run over. Instead of dumping out onto others all the time, how about you fill up and let the overflow come down to other people that need what you have or want what you have, but continue to have yourself full and have yourself ready. So first things first is fill up your cup. The first thing is to love yourself, to give yourself that appreciation, that self-care, that self-satisfaction, that self-appreciation. Whenever you're able to do that for yourself, that is what you can do unto others. And so to start that relationship, to build that relationship, the first thing you need to do is make sure that your at-home relationship is right. And then the next relationship, obviously, to that, if not number one, that is number one, is your relationship with God. That's self-explanatory. I don't really need to go very in depth with that. It's more or less making sure that that relationship is right, because when your faith is right, that is when you're able to be faithful towards everything else in life. Whenever you're committed to one thing that is God, He is able to show, like you're able to kind of show God in a sense of the things that He gives you are the things that you are prepared for, are the things that you are ready for. The one thing that I do know is God is never going to give you something that you can't handle. It is up to you to either stay and fight or run away from it. I'm going to talk about this later on, but I kind of picture it as if you have your dream house and you have a sink that's broken. You're not going to move away. You're going to do your best to fix that. And so the picture that you want to kind of see is, if God gives you, if you want a Lamborghini one day, you have to show God that you got that daggone 1998 Honda Accord, and you're able to prioritize that. You're able to take care of that. You're able to wash that thing. You're able to keep it clean, keep the oil in it, like everything. When you're able to show Him that, then it's like, okay, maybe He's ready for a Model X, or maybe He's ready for a Tesla, maybe He's ready for anything that He ever wanted in life. But you have to show Him that you're ready and you're willing to take those steps in order to get to the top. So you have to show God those things in order to be ready for that dream relationship. So let's say that your faith is right, your at-home relationship with yourself is right. The next thing that you want to make sure that you have right within yourself is making sure that your past trauma and your past mistakes won't be future ones. So the way that I always see mistakes is they're more or less lessons. So most people, if not everyone, has been through some type of aspect of a relationship, whether it's a falling out, whether it's cheating, whether it just didn't work out, or two people that just disconnected, falling out of love, like all that. Whenever you have that kind of situation that happens in a relationship, you have to prioritize, okay, how do I not let this happen again? Or if you have a repeating cycle of things, whether it's you getting cheated on, or whether it's you lying, or having some type of skeletons in the closet and you lock the key. Like there has to be something, or what if there's something to where it's a repeating pattern? You have to realize that those things in your life have to be taken care of and held accountable and taken care of before you bring those into the next relationship, before you bring those into the next thing. Because I feel like everybody has baggage, but if you have the strength to hold your own versus dumping it on somebody else, that'll show that you're willing to not give that to that next person. You're not willing to say, hey, I came with all this stuff, here you go. Like, that's not how you should do it. You shouldn't just throw everything on the next person just because you're too scared, or you're not ready to let those things go, or you're not ready to let those things be behind you, or you just want to carry that with you because that's so much easier. That weight on your shoulders or that weight on your back isn't easier than letting it go. If you're able to check inventory, take care of the things that you had going on in the past, so that way they don't follow you in your future, those are the things that are going to make sure that the next relationship and the next thing that you walk into in life is taken care of, ready, and held accountable. So that's the next thing that you need to do, is make sure that everything that is from your past is taken care of before you move forward towards your future. The thing is before you walk into another relationship, make sure that every other friendship, relationship is held accountable and taken care of. And I say held accountable because you're the person that has to prioritize the accountability. And so before you walk into the next relationship, you kind of want to make sure that every other one around you is taken care of. So you have to set boundaries for certain things. Like maybe when you were single, Johnny and Lorenza, they could do whatever they want, or you could hang out with them or be whatever you wanted to be and do whatever you wanted to do with them. But when you walk into a relationship, you can't do those certain things that you wanted to do with them, So like whenever you have those relationships, or whenever you walk into another relationship, you have to set a boundary. You have to set a fence for every other relationship outside of that one that you're prioritizing now. So whenever you do that, that's when you're able to respect the boundaries, and you're able to respect the relationship that you're in now, or the next one that you're in. So that's kind of something that you always want to have, is make sure that if you had friends with benefits, if you had an ex that you still talk to, if you had a quote-unquote best friend that's a guy, or a best friend that's a girl, you have to make sure that those boundaries are set. You have to make sure that those walls are built. You have to make sure that you have everybody in the section that they're needed to be in based off of the priority that they have in your life. So before you prioritize that, let's just call it that number one person, or your best friend that ends up being your girlfriend or boyfriend, or your husband or your wife, before you have them in that categorization, you have to make sure that everybody else is in their own category. Make sure they're in their own fence. Let everybody know that's a friend, that they're friends. Let everybody know that they're brothers, they're sisters, they're sisters. Keep it tight, keep it right. That's it. That's all you need to do, is make sure that everybody knows their place in your life. Like I said before, you have to make sure that the people that are in your life are put where you want them to be at. Tell them how you want to be treated and how you demand respect. When you start a relationship, the way that I kind of see it is, the way you start is how you're going to have to finish. So let's say, for example, the routines that you build, because we as people are very routine. We work out 9 to 5s, we may go to the gym, we may fall asleep, eat in between the day, take a poop, all that. We do all that every single day, right? We're very routine. We know that our Saturdays and our Sundays are normally our fun days, and all that good stuff. Like, we are very routine people. So whenever it comes down to building a routine and building habits in a relationship, you want to make sure that you build stuff that you're going to be able to be consistent with. So when it comes to paying for meals, or when it comes to going out shopping, or when it comes to hanging out, how much time you spend together, if you fall asleep on the phone, if you text all the time, if you text good morning, good night, like all that stuff, you're gonna have to address and you're gonna have to build on while you're in the beginning phases. Because there may be a day where it's day 384 you guys being together, and out of nowhere you fall asleep and you decide, oh, I don't feel like texting her good night. And what if you guys are like right there texting, yada yada, and you fall asleep. She wakes up the next day, hey Johnny, I saw that you didn't text me, is everything okay? And then there you go, you got a problem right then and there, just because you broke habit, just because you broke routine. So the things that you start, you have to make sure that you're ready to keep consistent. Like for me, I'm like a lover. I am a lover, actually. So like I love to do that kind of stuff. I love the good morning text. I love the good night text. I love being able to talk, text, and stuff like that. Like I love my independence and like my alone time and stuff, granted. But when it comes to being in a relationship, you know that everything is gonna be, you're not 50-50, but everything is now complemented by another person being there. So your alone time is going to be affected a little bit more, or your time apart is going to be affected a little bit more. Like you just have to make sure that your routines are built based off of how you want them to be built, and they're almost second nature to do. Not everybody is a romance person. Not everybody is a love type of person. Like I just found out that some women nowadays like a dude that isn't as lovey-dovey and stuff. And I'm like, that's crazy to me because I'm a lovey-dovey person. Like, I love that. I don't care. Like, I would buy you roses every day if my money was right. Like, that's the kind of person that I am. So when it comes to, like, building up those routines, you have to make sure that that is who you are as a person. And even if that isn't you, you don't want to fake it, because everything that is fake will be brought to light someday. Like, if that's the habit that you've made, your inconsistency will show that it's true or if it's false. And so if you're inconsistent with something, that'll show that if you're actually genuine about it. Picture you are building this relationship. Picture that you're making this relationship. The first thing that you kind of want to see it as is you're building your dream house with this person, right? So you're making the blueprint. This is the blueprint aspect of it, is kind of like pre-relationship. You've already figured out this person, you know what kind of person they're like, you see that there's a future with them in some fashion, and so you're building that blueprint, right? And so at that point, after the blueprint is done, after that deal is done, you want to be able to picture it as one brick at a time, one day at a time. Everything is one day at a time. Nothing is guaranteed tomorrow. Everything is already written yesterday. So you need to be sure that everything that you start is in the moment. It's in today. So you're building that dream house one brick at a time. And no house is built off of a weak foundation. You have to have a strong foundation when you start a relationship. So you have to be sure that you're standing on firm ground whenever you stand next to someone. You need to make sure that you're not completing them, you're complementing them. You have to make sure that this person that you end up being with is somebody that you see as, this is the person that I want to build this dream house with. This is the person that I want to lay one brick at a time, and I will be patient until this house is built. I will be ready whenever this house is built. And like I said before, whenever you have problems, because no relationship is perfect, but whenever you have problems, whenever you have lack of communication, whenever you have a situation that happens, you have to be ready to know that, like I said before, your sink is broken. You're not going to move away just because it's broken. You're going to fix that problem. If you see that the electric bill wasn't paid, you better pay for that thing. If you see that your partner is lacking in some aspect, or if you see that they're lacking in energy or in communication, or they have troubles with something, you have to be that person that helps complement them. Go into a relationship knowing that it's not about being 50-50. We live in the society of find a person that completes you, find that person that's 50, so that way you can be 50 with them. Like, no, that thing needs to be 200%. Like, you need to be 100, they need to be 100. There may be some days that they're 95, but if you're 100, you can give them that extra 5. Like, you need to be that person that is complete in yourself, before you find somebody that can complement your quality of life. Before you find somebody that can better your life, you have to better your own. And so before you build that dream house, you have to be sure that you're ready for it. Before you build that relationship with that person, you have to make sure that the past relationships are not going to be a burden in the next one. You have to be ready for those situations where things will happen, and you're ready to, you're better prepared for what happened in the past, or because of what happened in the past. You're better prepared for the things that will happen in the future. Be sure to address your past. Address everything that's ever happened to you, past traumas, past mistakes. Make sure that you set boundaries on those that are in your life and the people around you, so they know where they belong and know that there's a fence that they belong in, and they're going to stay right there. 3, before you build that dream house, make sure you build the blueprint. Make sure that you know that this is the person that you want to be with. Make sure this is the person that is willing to stand by your side. Find somebody that complements you, not completes you. Find somebody that is 100% just like the way you are before you walk into a relationship. And lastly, make sure that you have built the routine and the right routine, because how you start with the relationship is how you're going to finish the relationship. That concludes the show. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on post notifications so you know every single time I post. I love you all. And be sure to let everybody know what we're doing here at the YON Show. Peace!